Hi, good morning. I am Dr. Sridhar Kalyansundaram, consultant neonatologist and pediatrician. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for subscribing and keeping the notifications on, and I would hope that you would share it with your friends and colleagues to spread the word about this useful channel. In terms of this video, I will be discussing a very important topic, which is acute gastroenteritis or diarrhea or loose stools, as you may call it. So loose stools is a common concern that many parents get when their child has increased frequency of stools. So the first question that arises is it an abnormal pattern? What is producing it, and what treatment we need to give? So I'll give you a quick overview. This is not an exhaustive discussion on the topic, so just for you to know a few key features. One thing is, in the newborn period, increased frequency of stool is quite normal. In an exclusively breastfeeding baby, the stool pattern may be like even 10 to 15 times. Babies tend to pass stool with every feed. That is called gastrocolic reflex, where the milk entering the stomach causes them to pass stool. So you don't need to be worried about this pattern, and if the baby is gaining weight well, is passing urine adequately, looks well, there is no fever, baby is active, then it is not likely to be an infection. In a baby who has started solids, or you have been giving formula feeds, there is a higher chance of introducing infection if you are not careful, if there is a risk of contamination. So sterilizing the bottle appropriately is important. Cooking the food that you are giving to wean is important. The utensils you use should be clean as well. If you are giving egg after say 7 to 8 months of age, make sure it's fully cooked egg. Egg and chicken can be sources of salmonella if it is not fully cooked, and we have actually recently seen a spike in the number of salmonella cases. So be aware of these aspects. Infant botulism is a serious risk, so honey should not be given in the first year of life in any form. It doesn't present as diarrhea, but obviously it can cause paralyzing illness because the baby doesn't have the immune response to it. In terms of acute gastroenteritis, which is the commonest cause of infective diarrhea, so we have viruses and bacteria which can produce that. A viral infection is more likely. It usually starts with vomiting or fever, and subsequently the baby may have tummy pain and increasing frequency of loose stool. The mechanism by which the loose stool is produced differs from case to case. Sometimes it's a secretory diarrhea where there is copious watery diarrhea. There is a high risk of dehydration in these cases. There may be dysentery like presentation where there is blood in the stools, mucus in the stools, excessive griping pain. So these is more likely to be a bacillary dysentery. So we used to get shigellosis, and we used to get salmonella related dysentery. Amoebiasis is also a cause of blood in the stools, and it's thankfully not common here, but in India, Egypt, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, in the developing countries, amoebiasis is not uncommon. So if you have a travel history, or if you have a cook or someone who has come from those countries and the child presents with the dysentery like presentation, you should be careful. One thing I would like to tell here, that amoebiasis like protozoa are not uncommon. So other components of entamoeba are there. So if your stool routine shows cysts, it doesn't confirm that it is entamoeba histolytica, which is a typical cause of amoebiasis. A non histolytica species are also there, and they are relatively benign. The viral causes of diarrhea have so many viral sources. The rotavirus vaccine that we are giving the newborn baby, the young babies at 2, 4 and 6 months, is meant to protect against this source, which is the main cause of diarrhea, called rotavirus diarrhea. And thankfully this has reduced a lot. It tends to spread in nursery environments, in play school and so on, because of children sharing toys and so on. It's usually a oral fecal route of spread. So when their hand gets soiled and they put it in the mouth, or something comes in contact with that, it can spread. A low viral load is enough to spread the infection, so it spreads quite easily. There is a virus called norovirus, which is notorious to cause vomiting and diarrhea during cruises and other group gatherings. So it can happen during Hajj pilgrimage and so on as well. So people should take care of hygiene, because viral infections like this spread through contact spread or fomite spread mostly. Currently we are seeing lower number of cases because of all the precautions we are taking for COVID, so they do reduce the contact with surfaces is reducing. We are using the hand gel, which would sanitize against the viruses as well, and the schools and nurseries are taking extra precautions too. So the number of loose stools, the volume of stools, the symptoms that are associated, whether there is vomiting, these will determine your approach. So basically, if it is a viral diarrhea, there is no specific treatment to stop the infection. Medications to stop the stooling or to reduce the frequency of stooling is not recommended because they cause bloating. There is a chance that you may get a bloodstream infection in the process, which is more serious. So unless you have something essential to do, like an adult who needs to attend an interview, or definitely you wouldn't go to work with the diarrhea because it's contagious and you would be feeling quite tired, you can't keep going to the washroom, so you would be off sick obviously. But if it is something essential you need to do for a brief time, you may take a stool binding agent as an adult. But for a child, we don't usually recommend such agents. It's better you avoid binding agents to reduce the stool frequency. The main component is to avoid dehydration. So if there is vomiting, obviously the oral intake may be hampered. You may need symptomatic treatment like domperidone, for example, to reduce the vomiting. The more effective antiemetics are used in the severe cases, and if you visit the hospital you may get an injection of the same, or suppository formulations are available as well to reduce the vomiting. I'm not going to discuss the medications used. Obviously the mainstay is going to be oral rehydration solution, the ORS as we call it. There are different forms of it: Babylight, Pedialyte, Leolite. The WHO formulation is recommended in most situations. The homemade ORS can be used if you don't have ready access to ORS. Still you manage to get the ORS solution. The main reason we give ORS and not water is that when you have diarrhea, you lose water and salt. Along with the water, you are losing salt like sodium and potassium as well, and you need a little bit of glucose as well to both help the child's intake, because they may not be taking otherwise, plus the absorption of these electrolytes are better with added glucose because the channels involve glucose as well. So there is a scientific basis for the oral rehydration solution, their formulation, so better to stick with those and make sure that the child is taking at a regular interval. For example, a 1-year-old or 2-year-old child with a loose stool, we expect to replace about 50 to 75 ml of ORS for each loose stool, in addition to the regular intake. Of course, their appetite will be less, they may not eat normally. At least keep giving them the oral rehydration solution. In the video on lactose intolerance, I said that the digestibility of the milk sugar may be affected in acute diarrhea, especially if it lasts more than a few days, because the surface cells may be shed and your lactase enzyme reduces. So you may consider a low lactose milk in these situations if the child is not on breastfeeding. If the child is on breastfeeding, don't change anything. Reducing the milk intake is also a good idea. If the child has been weaned, you try to give alternative sources. Cereal based food is okay, fruit juices can be given, and then the ORS as well. So avoid too complicated foods, simple foods on a repeated basis as the child takes, along with the oral rehydration solution. In the secretory type of diarrhea, we have new medications which can reduce the secretion in the gut. So Hydrasec is an example, and these are used in selective cases, but make sure that the hydration is maintained at the same time when we use these medications. Probiotics, we will have a separate video on probiotics. These too have a role in acute gastroenteritis, as they help to get back the normal gut microbiome, the bacteria in the normal gut, and giving extra doses of the probiotics may have a competitive inhibition of the pathogens or the organisms which are causing the infection, and so it might help in recovery. Sometimes we get loose stools following antibiotics, and that may reduce if you take the probiotics along with that as well. So yogurt is a good food to take during diarrheas. Even though it is a milk product, it has natural probiotics, and so it may help you as well. The way to assess the hydration is basically to look at the child, whether there is sunken eyes, whether the skin turgor is reduced, whether the tongue is dry, and you also look at the urine output. If any of these features suggest dehydration, you do need to seek medical attention. Sometimes a child may need IV replacement if they are not able to take orally. Most of the time we are able to replace oral rehydration fluids repeatedly. If the child refuses, don't give up. try different forms. You can even give 5 ml, 10 ml with the syringe on a repeated basis, even in older kids. So they may take a small amount at a time. You have to sit with the child, you have to keep giving them, nurture them back to good health. Normally it settles down in 3 to 5 days majority of the time. So the frequency of stool alone doesn't matter. If the volume is reducing, if the child is starting to eat better, that's a good sign. So bacterial sources are uncommon. Even if it is a dysentery, we don't need antibiotics unless it's a young baby less than 1 year of age, if there is high fever or other systemic manifestations. So in older kids we tend not to give antibiotics for dysentery, even if you have bacteria in the stool. And so don't pressurize to get antibiotics in these situations, because it increases the duration of shedding. It doesn't change the natural course of the condition. There are some cases where your doctor may prescribe antibiotics and you may take them in those situations if the child is very unwell. So I hope this video helps, and do subscribe, share, and keep your notifications on. Bye.